Hello, friends. Welcome to the YO Unicorn Lens podcast, where we look at life with fresh eyes through the lens of infinite possibility. My name is Marcy.
And I'm Joanne.
Together, we will be dreamstorming and talking about co-creating with the universe in order to live the life of our dreams. So today we are going to be talking to Olivia Windsor, who I think you introduced me to her. I found her on Instagram. Is that where you found her as well?
Yeah, I found her on Instagram and I saw her doing a little virtual tour with somebody. So that really caught my attention in Italy.
Yes, so she talks about learning how to Italian, and that's what we're trying to do, right? So she moved to Italy in May 2019. She's from Melbourne, Australia. And she fell in love and she's decided to stay.
Piedmont, yes.
Yes.
I think that's north, right?
Yeah.
Northern Italy.
I looked it up. I think it's about 4 hours north. Okay, looks like she's here.
Yay!
Olivia.
Hello.
Hi. My gosh. So nice to see you.
Yes, so fun.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. It's so much fun to finally meet you because we're like virtual friends, if you didn't know.
We just recently started stalking you.
Hey. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, it's really nice to meet people like this, even not in person, but virtually. It's great.
Yeah, well, we have been practicing what you talk about. We've been learning how to Italian. So because we will be going to Florence here in a couple months. The countdown has begun. It's like 60 days from today, right, Joanne?
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, about that. Yeah. So excited. And so you're like one of our instructors, I feel, teaching us how to do it.
What an honor. Thank you. I'm sure you're both super excited for Florence. It's an amazing place. Is it your first time?
No, we went on a trip a few years ago and promised we would be back.
Oh, amazing.
There's so much to explore though. We went to Venice, Florence, and Rome, and then we took a couple of day trips to where did we go? Pisa, and then Pompeii to see the ruins. So, but it's so much to explore. Where are you living?
I'm in Turin, so it's the capital of the region Piedmont, so all the way up north. And it's I guess you'd say a bit off the tourist path, generally speaking. It's quite close to Milan, which is definitely on everyone's radar. But yeah, Turin is often overlooked, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, I guess. It's probably good for the tourists who do come because you sort of feel like you're getting maybe a little bit more of a hidden Italy. But yeah, I mean, on the other hand, there's not a lot of English speakers here compared to like Rome, Venice, Florence, of course. So yeah, I think people normally know the region if they're into wine. So Barolo is in Piedmont. So unless you're like really wanting to go and visit there, I don't know a lot of people don't even know where Turin is really. Like when I speak to friends and family back in Australia, I mean, maybe they've heard of it, but they've never been. They've never been. So yeah.
So what inspired you to move to Italy?
Great question.
Because you're from Australia, which is another place I would love to visit.
Yeah, I know, it's so different. Well, I guess I've always been in love with Italy, even before I really knew what that meant. So I guess what I mean is in Australia, I grew up in a very Italian community. I'm not Italian at all. My family is not Italian. But there's a big like the States, I guess. There's a big Italian community in Melbourne, where I'm from. And so I went to school with like all, when I say Italian, Australian Italians, but all Australian Italians. And they're so proud of their culture and they feel it so strongly, even though, like, you know, the friends I went to school with hadn't even been to Italy at that point yet. And it wasn't even their parents who were born there. It was like normally their grandparents, but they still felt it so strongly. And it was sort of like to me at the time, it felt like a secret club that I wasn't part of. You're like exposed to the culture, you know, and like you see the food and everything, but you're not in the club. And so I always I was curious about it because there was just, I don't know, the Italians that I knew seemed really cool and they do like the tomato sauce making. I always wanted to go to that. And so, yeah, I guess like for a while, I like grew up with this interest in Italian culture. We learned Italian at school as well, which is kind of funny. Like, yeah, whenever I tell people that, they're like, oh, like, because we're not anywhere near Europe, like you would think that we'd be learning Chinese maybe, or Japanese or Indonesian. But yeah, we learned Italian at school. So I had this interest in the country from when I was young. And then I had been to Italy finally when I was 20. I came for the first time. And I did it totally wrong. Because I was studying in the UK and I did this, I don't know if you've heard of this company, it's called Contiki. It's like a bus tour company for like under 30s, basically. It's kind of just like you see, I don't know, maybe 10 countries in a week. It's that sort of thing. So,
wow.
You know, something crazy. Like it was fun, but I did Italy totally the wrong way, right? Like I saw Florence, Venice, and Rome, but it was like a day in each, eating at the worst places. Like, you know, you could say that you'd been to Italy, but you hadn't really been there.
You just rushed right through it.
Yeah, exactly. And it was funny because I've been wanting to go to Italy for so long. And that trip, I was really disappointed. I was like, oh, I thought Italy was going to be great. And I thought, no, I've got to go back. I obviously didn't do it right. And so I went back maybe 2 years after that. And I came for a longer time. I think I had 2 weeks. And I did the Cinque Terre, which is also like quite a touristy place, but I fell in love with Liguria and that region. It was just amazing. And we went to Sardinia as well, which is beautiful, the island. And where else? And we had some more time in Milan. So we flew out of Milan. And it was a slower trip, like wasn't with a tour company. I was choosing where I was eating. I did my research. Like I had time to do it properly. And that is when I fell in love with Italy. The first morning when we woke up from this crazy flight from Australia, it was like traveling for 2 days straight. We went straight from Milan to the Cinque Terre, straight to bed, woke up the next morning, opened the balcony, and it just looked at that view and I fell in love with it. And it was so funny that morning that we went down into the town, we didn't know it at the time, but we picked the day that there was one of the food festivals on, the Sagre, and they had the whole town dressed up as a giant lemon. It was hilarious. There were like little stalls selling the limoncino. There were little kids running around, like giving out slices of lemon. It was just so charming. And I mean, how could you not?
What a way to welcome you.
Yeah, right.
It
was like, does this happen every day? Like, yeah, no, it was like that day only, once a year. Yeah, it was really special. And so from that moment, when I left that trip to come back to Australia, I remember like, I don't think I was properly crying, but I wanted to because I did not want to leave. And the thought of going away from that country back to Australia, I was really unhappy about it. And I had, everything back in Australia. I had a job. I was working in digital marketing for sort of like the Sephora of Australia. It's not Sephora, it's a different one. So I had a really good job. I had my whole family, all my friends. I didn't know anyone in Italy. I didn't have anything for me here, but I just felt like I was leaving something behind, like I was meant to be here. And so that must have been 2016, I want to say, that trip. And then I came back one more time before I moved in 2018. I had a trip with some friends, and my parents came to Italy as well. And that was a trip where I decided, like, I've got to do it next year. I've got to give it a go, because if I don't, I'll always regret it. And, you know, it was sort of I was at a sort of tipping point, I guess, with like my career in Australia. If I had have stayed, I was about to get a promotion, and I didn't want anything more holding me to Australia, if that makes sense, because it would just be too difficult. Like the year before I moved, everything sort of worked out in a way. Like I broken up with my boyfriend at the time in Australia, so I didn't have like those kind of ties holding me back as well. It's a lot easier, I think, to do something like move to another country when you're by yourself. I mean, not for everyone, but for me it was. So that was sort of right. And so, yeah, I just thought, like, I was tossing it up. For a while I was considering moving to the UK, because I thought it would be way easier to find a job. I speak the language, but my heart wasn't in it. Like, I'd studied in the UK before, and I don't love the UK. I'll say it's great to visit, but I never really loved living there. And I thought, look, what's the worst that can happen? I can go to Italy, doesn't work out, I go back home, right? Like, I haven't lost anything. I've given it a go. And so, so that's what I did. I moved to Italy, and originally, like, the reason, I guess, for wanting to move was to learn more about food and wine and the culture. I felt that was sort of even though I wasn't working in food and wine in Australia, I was really interested in it. And I felt that that's where my passions were shifting, not to be a professional cook, but to do something in food and wine. And I love the Italian language, so like I really wanted to improve my Italian as well. So yeah, it's a really long answer.
Wow. Well, so you had taken Italian in school, so you knew a little bit of Italian.
Wow, this is funny. Yeah, so I thought that I knew a bit of Italian, and like, you know, before I moved, I went to an Italian class on the weekends, like once a week for a year. And I was like, this will be great. Like, I'll be so good when I get, well, not so good, but I'll be good when I get to Italy. And I'd planned to, when I arrived, I'd already booked in for a 6-week intensive course in Bologna and living with an Italian family. I was like, throw myself in the deep end, like, let's get these language skills up to speed. And so when I arrived and I was staying with this lovely family, the daughters spoke some English, but the mum, it was just a mum and her 2 daughters. The mum spoke absolutely no English, like none. And I thought, okay, I'll be all right. I've got my Italian. It was impossible. I realized straight away, I was like, oh my God, I don't know anything. I knew how to say, like, obviously, like, hi, I'm Olivia, how are you? But like, I was totally thrown in the deep end. And I realized, oh my God, I'm so out of my depth. It was straight into the frying pan, or out of the frying pan into the fire, I should say. It was it was intense. Like, it was good that I had some sort of base. I wasn't, you know, I could say a few things, but properly having a conversation was impossible. That was really, you know, beyond my level. So it was really good, though, that I was going to school every day. It was funny because if different conversations in the house would happen, I'd write them down. And then when I went to the school, I'd be like, ask my teacher, okay, what does this mean? Can you help me? So that was really good. And I think my Italian, like, definitely improved a lot during that time, because I was literally forced to communicate every day. So it was the best thing, I think, living with the Italian family. At first, I was a bit sort of second guessing myself if it was a good idea, because, you know, I wanted to be independent as well. But I was like, it's 6 weeks. I think it would be a really good thing to meet some locals and really get my language skills up. So yeah, I was really glad I did it. But I thought I'd be like fluent, not fluent, but I thought I'd be you know, almost fluent after 6 weeks. Oh my God, how naive I was. I reckon I've been here for nearly 3 years, and I can understand everything, but my grammar is still atrocious. Like, I've still got so much learning to do. I can have a conversation, I can understand everything, but like, God, I'm definitely not native level by any stretch of the imagination.
How did you find that family? Was it set up through the school?
Yeah, it was set up through the school. So it was an amazing school that, I highly recommend. It's called Accademia Lingua in Bologna. And the director, Andrea is his name. He lived in the States for a while. He was just like this amazing, vivacious Italian man. And he was friends with lots of different families because he was from Bologna. And so he connected me with this, just by chance, it was this certain family. And they turned out to be so lovely. Like, I'm still in touch with them now. I'm not living in Bologna anymore, but when I've been back to Bologna, like, I've gotten in touch with the mum, and like, she'll like prepare me lunch, we'll have a coffee together, like, you know, just they've become friends, these people, so hospitable. So yeah, it was really the best thing I could have done to do a family stay, for sure.
Wow. Well, I noticed that you had said something about the WWOOF program. What is that?
Yes, good question. So before I moved, a manager at my work, actually, she didn't know I was thinking of moving to Italy, and she was sort of kicking herself afterwards. But she gave me this book to read because she knew I loved Italy, and it was about an Australian woman who, with her family for 3 months, had moved to Italy, and they'd done it through this program, WOOF, which is the WOOF. Sounds a bit ridiculous, but it stands for Willing Workers on Organic Farms. And essentially what it is, it's in multiple countries, and there's a separate website and membership per country. And so what it is that you sign up to this membership for a year, and you get access to all the different organic agriturismi, so like the farm hotels, wineries, actual farms as well, different people working in agriculture, so like things to do with bees, things to do with, I think even vinegar, like aceto in Emilia-Romagna, but mainly like wineries and agriturismi. You get access to all these different places around Italy that are actively looking for willing workers or help in exchange for lodging and food. So I read this book about it. Which I've never heard of it before until I read this book about this Australian woman who did it with her family, and it was just like an amazing experience. They had they didn't have any bad experiences. Some were better than others. But it was just so inspiring because I thought, wow, like what an amazing way to, one, stretch your budget, because it's really hard, obviously, to find a job in Italy anyway. Two, it was perfect for me because I was interested in food and wine, and this was literally getting experience in food and wine. And three, I also thought, like, great way to meet locals and connect with different people. Coming to a country where I didn't know a soul, I thought that could be a good thing to get some contacts. So after reading that book, I signed up to the website, and the website, I think it's had a refresh, but when I used it, it was not super user-friendly, and you had to really trawl through the job ads because there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And some places are obviously better than others to do it. And so I found a few different places around Italy that I ended up working for through this program. So it was not paid in cash, but you didn't have any expenses when you were there. And really, like, some of the places, it felt like a holiday. So the first one I did it at was in Tuscany, which, amazing. And it is called Factoria Di Statiano, run by this beautiful Tuscan woman, Tina, and her husband. And what the situation there was I agreed to do 2 weeks. They were hosting a wedding while I was there at the property. They also had a winery connected. Before I moved in Australia, I did my level 2 wine certificate. So I had that sort of as an extra qualification to take. I thought, maybe this will come in handy. So I had that, and she was like, oh, you can help us do the wine tastings and like lead people through the winery. You can help us set up the wedding. And because I had my digital marketing experience, places love that, because I think a lot of people who do the Wolf program are more signing up for manual labor, and not so much maybe having a digital marketing background. And a lot of these places in Italy, they don't necessarily have the skills, with digital marketing stuff. So she was like, oh, that would be awesome. You can help us with some of that while you're here. So anyway, it ended up being the most amazing 2 weeks. There were a few other girls similar age to me, who were working there as well. So that was really nice, getting to meet them, become friends with them. Tina was an amazing cook. And so another thing we got to do or helped her with was prepare the breakfast spread in the morning. And so we learned lots of different recipes. One in particular was this lavender shortbread that she made with the lavender from the garden. It was amazing. And different iced teas. Like, it was just, yeah, it was so nice. And the amount of time that we were actually working, like, we'd help with the morning breakfast, put everything out, clear their tables and stuff. And then generally in the middle of the day, there was a swimming pool there, and it was summer. So she was like, just go and relax by the pool. So it sort of felt like you're on holiday.
Oh my.
And yeah, and preparing the wedding, that was a lot of work, obviously, but it was quite fun. Like the actual couple who were getting married, they were related to the owner somehow, so like we were included in the celebration. We got to have some prosecco as well, and all the food and everything, which was awesome. And then some days too, the owner would take us for different day trips, just to give us a nice experience. So she took us one day to Lucca, which is, if you haven't been to Lucca in Tuscany, you have to go. I'm obsessed with it. It's amazing. It's close to Florence too. So she took us there one day. We went out for an amazing lunch. She took us one day, I think the first or the second night that I was there, an experience that I still think about to this day was in the summertime in Italy, opera is a really big thing, and they have lots of opera, outdoor opera festivals. And so there was a tiny little town that was hosting a performance that night, out in the open. And so she took us to that, and it was incredible. This most beautiful, picturesque Tuscan town with not a tourist in sight besides, us, the workers, who were from, every which country. And it was just incredible. So that program I definitely recommend. And that's how I ended up moving to Piedmont, because there was a job ad from a winery in Piedmont, which is where I am now, for the vendemmia, so the wine harvest. So I thought, this could be interesting. It could be hard work, but it could be interesting, like getting some hands-on experience with the wine course that I'd done. And so I applied for that, and I was just meant to do a week at this winery here called Cascina Iuli. And it was such an amazing experience that I ended up staying there for like 6 weeks. They were like, can you stay for longer? Because it was a family run winery, an American wife and her Italian husband, and they had 2 little boys. And yeah, it was awesome. The first couple of weeks there were 2 Canadian guys who were working there as well, so it was really fun, having other people around. And then there was a Swedish girl who came, who was a sommelier in Sweden, and they'd have these amazing dinner parties with different wine producers traveling from all around Europe. And yeah, it was incredible. So that's how I ended up moving here.
That sounds so fancy.
Dream life, huh?
Well, let me just say, the days there were very long, and it was very manual work picking the grapes. So that part wasn't so fancy. But at that point, I was sort of like, I don't know, I was sort of ready to do something like that. Some manual work. It was September, so the weather was nice. It wasn't too hot to be outside picking grapes all day, but it was quite hard. I'd not done manual work like that before, but there was something really nice about it, like really sort of getting your hands dirty and being in the vineyard doing the work, for me anyway, because I had that interest in wine. So yeah, there was the mud balanced with the nice dinner parties.
Oh my goodness, it sounds like so much fun.
Mm.
Wow, what a great program.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I couldn't recommend it enough. I also did it in Umbria. And again, that was really nice because it was an English woman and her Italian husband, and they had a 9-year-old daughter, and they lived in this beautiful property just below Gubbio in Umbria. Beautiful, beautiful scenery. There was a swimming pool there as well. So again, use the pool. It was awesome. They had a pizza oven, so we had a pizza night one night. It was amazing. And they took us on day trips too. We went to the beautiful town Spello. I don't know if you've heard of that. It is like sort of a flower obsessed town. There's flower pots everywhere. They have once a year this incredible flower festival. It's just amazing. So that was another really great experience through this program.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
It's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It's really inspiring because I more and more I hear people's stories, and it's like you just follow the evolution of you know what you don't want, and then you start to narrow it down, and it all starts to kind of come together.
Exactly. It's so true. And I think it's like important to hear different people's stories because, as you said, like it can inspire you to do something like that. And before I moved here, there was different people, expats living in Italy that I was following, and that was such an inspiration for me too, seeing that it was possible, and that people can make life in Italy happen if they're not from here. So I think it's nice to hear different people's stories. And it's funny, it's just like when I first moved here, I could have no idea of how things would turn out. Like I didn't even know anyone. But as you said, I just sort of kept going. Sometimes it's been really difficult. It hasn't always been like, la dolce vita and everything, especially with the pandemic. But I never regretted moving here.
So is Australia still closed off? It is, right?
They're open now, but very recently. So they're only opened like in the last, I want to say, month or so. But people are still a bit cautious just because, the government closed the borders once, they could close them again, which I get. So we're hoping to go back to Australia for next Christmas. So I'm glad that we didn't go for this one because I think things are still a bit up in the air with traveling back to Australia. So I'm glad that we're going next Christmas. So fingers crossed. It would be nice to go back. It would be nearly 4 years by the time I go back, which I couldn't have imagined I would have been away for that long.
Wow. The timing of it is crazy because you moved in 2019.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You're there.
I know. That was the craziest thing. I know. When the pandemic started, I thought, oh my God, thank God I moved when I did, because I just wouldn't have done it. Would have been too hard basket. Maybe I would have done it 30 years later or something. But I just feel that even now it'd be so difficult moving here with especially when you don't speak the language. And Italy's just hard. Maybe the UK, you'd be like, yeah, okay, I can navigate it. But properly moving to Italy, during a pandemic, I think I don't know, maybe I would have done it, but it would have been hard. It would have been really hard.
Wow.
Wow. Timing. Sliding doors.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What time do you usually eat dinner?
That's an interesting question. Normally around 8:30, 9 p.m.
Wow.
And in Australia, it was not that late, obviously. Like in Australia, my family generally had dinner around 7:30. Yeah. Which was a bit late for Australia. Well, my grandparents would have dinner at 6 p.m. My family was a little bit later than that. But Italy, it is. Sometimes in winter we might eat earlier just because it's cold and, it's darker earlier. But generally at least 8:30. It's funny, when I first moved, I was starving. I remember when I was staying with the Italian family, dying. I was like, oh my God, when's dinner? And now, it's 7 p.m., I'm not hungry at all. You just adapt, you get used to it.
You adjust, huh? Okay.
So that's one tip, actually, when you're in Florence, try to have dinner at no earlier than 8, because otherwise maybe the restaurant would be open or you'll be the only ones there with other tourists.
Oh,
So up to you.
Okay.
But it's fine. Yeah.
All right.
Dinners
also, if you see restaurants that are open earlier, then they're generally catered for tourists, because Italians don't eat at that time.
Interesting.
Remember that place we went to in Florence?
I do.
It was like, there was a line outside the door forever.
And they weren't open until later. It was really good. It was really good.
There you go. Yeah. Perfect.
You do tours with Untold Italy, which I just listened to the last episode of their podcast. That was fun. I'm like, now I want to go to Piedmont and have you just painted like a delicious day. It was amazing. So we're going to be in Florence for a couple months. So what would do you have any advice for us, or any like suggestions? What would be a perfect day?
Yeah, that's a good one. Whereabouts are you staying in Florence? Do you know you're going to stay in the like sort of central area or the Oltrarno? I'm not sure if you've worked out accommodation.
Well, the first place we'll be staying, it sounds like it's like a 10-minute bus ride into the center of town, so it's not too far. I was gonna say something like that would be really nice, because I think especially in the summertime, right in the center, and if there's lots of tourists, it's nice to stay somewhere a little bit outside of that so you can sort of relax in the evenings. But it's still close. I mean, Florence is so small, I guess, in a way that anywhere you stay, it's walkable and pretty central too. So I think that's great. We were there recently for my birthday in December, and we stayed in the Oltrarno area, so over the river, away from the Duomo or the cathedral, and that area is awesome. It's not off the beaten track anymore, but it's a little bit less busy compared to, right near the cathedral. And it's really nice. There's lots of little wine bars, amazing restaurants, little boutiques that you can pop into, and just sort of, you can find little streets that are off the beaten track, and, you're not traipsed by heaps of tourists as well. A perfect day. And you've been there before, so maybe I might say things that you've already done. Something that we did this time, which I'd never done before, and I think was really worthwhile, was doing the climb up the Duomo. So rather than just visiting inside the cathedral, but actually going up the top, the Campanile, that was amazing. The view is incredible. And when I don't know if you've done it, but when you walk up, you get to see the frescoes around, the dome up close. That was amazing. I mean, obviously it's touristy, but there's a reason it's touristy. It's because it's amazing. So I would definitely recommend like starting a day like that if it's a clear day as well and there's no rain. And you're there in summer, so it should be perfect weather anyway. And I'd probably do that first thing in the morning before it gets too hot. Because it gets really hot in Florence. I'm sure you know, but the humidity can be a lot. And then followed by that, I'm into the food, obviously. So I would go for a walk around one of the markets, Mercato Ambrogio. Don't know if you've been to that one. It's not too far from like the center. It's maybe like a 10-minute walk, I want to say, from the cathedral. Not too bad. So I'd go for a little walk through there, have a look what's happening in the market. Maybe you can pick up some things if you've got an apartment that you're staying at and you're going to be there for 2 months. You might be cooking at some point. And then if you're a little bit peckish, you want a snack or something like that, there's an amazing sandwich bar that is, doesn't have the queues like some of the other. There's one crazy sandwich bar in Florence that's got queues for hours. It's not that. It's literally right next to the market. It's called Semel, Semel. And it's run by this like old Florentine man who is super charming, super lovely. There's a handwritten like chalkboard menu with the different panini, the different sandwiches for the day. You can choose one. We had an amazing one, which
It was with herring, orange, and fennel. We were there in winter, but yeah, it was an amazing combination. And of course, you get like these little wine glasses full of Chianti, which were like €1 a glass, super cheap. Just a little sip as you have your panini, and it's really cute. At the front of the shop, they have sort of like an old, I don't know how to describe it. It's literally a place where you can put your wine glass in, so you can use your 2 hands to eat your panino. And each little box has got a different number, so you know which number is yours, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's really cute. And it's literally, right across from the market, so you're in the same area. It's perfect. So I would go for a stop there. It's really, really lovely. And then in the same area, there's a lovely, if you're ready for a coffee after that, maybe for a bit more energy, there's a lovely Italian bar. It's called Caffè Cibraio. And it's, again, just like a few feet from the sandwich shop and from the market. I'd go there and have a coffee. That's another good place for breakfast too, actually, on another day. That's, really, really lovely. If you are still hungry, like this, I'm describing a day basically that we had there, and my boyfriend was still hungry after that. I would suggest, it's not for everyone, but in Florence, they have this famous dish called Lamprodotto, and there's a van that sells it. You can find different Lamprodotto vans through Florence, but the one around this area is meant to be like the best. And we went there twice on our trip, and it was amazing. And so basically what it is it's offal. So it's the 4th stomach of a cow. It sounds horrendous. I know. It's very typical. The texture is, it's hard to describe. It's not slimy. It's not a slimy texture. It's very soft. It sort of tastes like really slow cooked corned beef, almost like a corned beef or a silver side, sort of like that, right? That's the best that I can describe it. And they put this salsa verde sauce on top, so a sauce made with like the parsley and anchovies, super yummy. Also some chili, you can get some like spice going on, which I had a bit of that. The Italian palate is funny. Up north, they don't have a lot of chili in the cuisine, or any really, so my partner can't handle any spice, but I was like, yes, give me the chili. And so they put this into a big roll, a big panino bun, and it makes the bread sort of a little bit not soggy but a little bit moist, and it is amazing. It's local street food, so as Florentine as you can get. It's not for everyone, but
we have to try it.
I love trying new things, and then like food trucks are like a passion of mine. Street food, yes.
Amazing. You have to try it. And look, if you don't like it, then at least you've tried it. It's not expensive either. I think it was like maybe €4 a sandwich or €3. It was so cheap, and it was so really filling too. So I recommend it for lunch, not dinner, because it's quite rich. So that's really good. And then, I think in the afternoon, going for a walk along the river and into some of those beautiful boutiques that are along there, like you could just do that for, especially if you like shopping, you could do that easily for an afternoon. It's amazing. Or what you could do, which we didn't do on the last trip, but I've done in other trips to Florence, is go up to the church, San Miniato, the Chiesa San Miniato, up on the hill, and it is beautiful. You get an amazing view out over all of Florence. That's really worth doing. I think it's one of the nicest churches in Florence. Certainly nicer, in my opinion. The cathedral's amazing on the outside, but on the inside, it's, in my opinion, not so flash hot. The San Miniato church is beautiful, and probably more than anything, it's the view that you get from being up on that high vantage point looking out over all of Florence. That's amazing. And it's a nice walk up there as well, if it's not too hot, that is. Otherwise, I'm sure you can take the bus or something like that. So I do that, and then when I came back down into Florence, I would go to a nice little wine bar. There's a few nice ones, obviously, in Florence. I'm trying to think of their names off the top of my head now. I can tell you them later. I can't think of them right now, the names of them, but yeah, I can send it to you. So I'd go there, pop into one of those. In Florence, they have, what I've noticed a lot of the time during aperitivo, is you'll have like these sort of big open sandwiches, so like grilled cheese, but it's not just grilled cheese, it's like salsiccia, the sausage, and truffle, and different flavor combinations. Yeah, so you can order one of those with your glass of wine, because they never drink on an empty stomach in Italy, so you always have to have the food. So that's really nice. I mean, another thing you could do that I speaking of wine, is that you could go on a little tour looking for those wine windows. I don't know if you've seen them. They're amazing. There's a woman who Katie interviewed on the Untold Italy podcast maybe a few months ago now, and she runs tours. Actually, she's got a book all about the wine doors or wine windows of Florence. Ooh. That would be amazing.
Actually, yeah, I did listen to that that episode. Was it really interesting?
Yeah, that would be awesome. And
that would, yeah, I can write that down.
Yeah, it's something different. And I think when you're there for, like, you guys are going to be there for 2 months, you've got time to do like off the beaten track things like that. So I think that would be awesome. Another thing, I mean, this is a long day now, but another thing that we did on the last trip, which I had not done before and I loved, was the Uffizi, but with a guide. The Uffizi Gallery. It was, it's funny because I've really changed my mind since, I guess last year we started doing more like paying to use an actual tour guide with one of us, like those small companies. And I really don't think I'd do another gallery now without a tour guide, because they're normally not signposted very well in Italy, at least. And the audio guides, I don't find them interesting myself. And the ones that I've done, we did this amazing guide through a company called Live Tours. It's quite a small company. They're in Rome as well. And yeah, they're in Florence. So we booked this tour with that company for the Uffizi. We ended up being the only two people on the tour. So it was like a private guide in the end. Ooh. And she was amazing. We learned so much. And she just brought the whole history of the city to life in a way that, like, I think it's sort of like a money can't buy experience in a way. Like, it was so worth it. And it wasn't that expensive for one day out of our trip to invest in something like that for a few hours. It was just, it was amazing. So I definitely recommend like doing a tour like that, where it's a really small group and you can sort of get one-on-one time with the tour leader, because they to be a tour guide in Italy, it's really hard. And you like the exams for it are so hard. She was explaining it to us as well. And for example, like where you do your tour exam, so she did it in Tuscany, in Florence, it is a different license per region in Italy. So just because she's a tour guide in Florence, she can't do it in Turin where you know I live, because it's a different. So because the amount of stuff that you have to know to pass this exam, it's also a way to make money, because you have to pay more exam fees if you want to do more than one place. But like, it's so tough. So I think and they're just amazing people. Like, you have to be, if you want to do that career in Italy, I think you've got to be so passionate about it, because there's a lot of competition and you've got the exams are so hard. So you're getting like the best of the best when you do these tours, and they're not expensive for the expertise they have. Yeah.
Well, you have tours that you do, right, with Untold Italy?
Yes.
Coming so there's spring and fall.
Yeah. So the first ones will be, if everything goes to plan with COVID, in May, fingers crossed. And so, yeah, through that, so I'm like the host of those tours, and then we're working with the local tour guides who've got the expertise and the licenses and all of that stuff. So my job is to, I guess, sort of do the food and wine elements of Piedmont, which I know quite well now, and then the history side of things and more of the cultural side of things. We'll have a local guide to help bring that part to life. Probably historical dates. I'm very interested in history too, but historical dates aren't always my strong point. So that will be necessary.
Oh, that's fun. So you have those tours coming up in May, but that's for specific, that's for Piedmont?
Yeah, so the first one is mid-May, and that's 4 nights in Piedmont. So we're doing 2 nights in Turin and 2 nights in the wine region, Le Langhe. So we're staying in a town called La Mora, which is actually a town that my partner's family has got quite a long history in that town. And I just think it's an amazing, beautiful gem in the wine region. And so, yeah, we'll be sort of wining and dining. The focus of the Piedmont tour is mainly on food and wine because it's a region that's just so rich in food and wine. There will be some historical elements too. So we'll go on a guided walking tour through Turin, which will be amazing, and also a guided walking tour through Alba, which is the capital of the Langhe wine region. So sort of like a big country town, if you will, but it's beautiful. And we'll be doing experiences around food and wine on that tour too, and cultural experiences. So one of them is a truffle hunt, which is so fun. It's awesome. So I'm really excited for people to do that. We'll also be going to wineries, and not big wineries. Like we've selected very boutique, family-run wineries, ones that, you know, don't get busloads of people coming through, which I think is a different experience too, because you get actually, a different experience to sit down with the owners and have a chat to them and take your time through a tasting. So that will be really fun. What else are we doing? We're also doing the Piedmont tour in the fall. So we're doing 2 versions, one in the spring and one in the fall. And the one in the fall happens when the White Truffle Festival is on. So we'll take everyone to the White Truffle Festival. That's in Alba, so in the wine region. And that's amazing. We went to it this year. And if you want to buy truffles, like that is the time to go. You can get truffle everything, truffle butter, truffle salt, truffles themselves. So that will be really fun. I'm really excited to show people that. So there's the Piedmont one first. And then after Piedmont, I think like just less than a week after, we've got one in the Mermaid Coast. So that's, amazing, right?
Magical.
It's so cool. It's this one's interesting because we're working with 2 other women who've been on the podcast. So the first is Danielle, and she's on Instagram is Feast of History. And her family are from the Cilento region. Even though she lives in the States, she travels back and forth between Italy and the States. And her family live there. So we'll be staying at her family's. They've got an agriturismo property. So we'll be staying there for 3 nights and, you know, being guided around by them, different villages, and sort of we're doing like a boat tour one day. So it's right under the Amalfi. So like the Amalfi is amazing, but obviously quite touristy and a lot of people. The Cilento is just down from there, a little bit further down, and it's all the same stunning views, but without the crowds. So that's really exciting. And then we're working with, you probably heard her on the podcast a few times, Holly from Capri, who I haven't met her before, but I'm super excited to meet because she's Australian as well. And I love her story. It's so romantic about how she met her husband. Anyway, that was one of my favorite episodes. So she's helped design the tour for the 3 nights then in Capri. So we'll have 3 nights in Cilento, take the boat over to Capri and have 3 nights in Capri, and her and her husband are running the show there. And I'll be with the group to, you know, guide them and give them extra support if they need, with different bits and pieces and etc. But yeah, very excited for that. So that's another tour. And then from there, we're going to Puglia, so a separate tour, separate group. We've got 2 in Puglia, one's in June and one's in September. And that is super exciting. So that's a 6-night tour, 7 days. And I think that one will be really nice because, well, for a few reasons, but one of the biggest things is you really need a car to get around in Puglia, and not everyone is confident driving in Puglia. I've done Puglia without a car and with a car, 2 separate trips, and I can tell you with a car is so much better and so much easier. Like, they do have public transport there, but it is really difficult, especially in the summer heat. It is, not an ideal situation to be in if you don't have a car and you want to sort of go and sightsee, which of course you do if you're on holiday. So I think that's a really nice one for people to join if they're maybe not as confident to rent a car in Italy. Not everyone is, so I think that's great. And again, if you want to get like a bit more off the beaten track, Puglia is a really hot destination at the moment. And it's such a big destination that I think it can be difficult for people to work out how to see the most and the best places in a week, because it's not a lot of time to see a huge region. So we've sort of cherry picked the destinations we think are the best within Puglia to create this tour. And the focus there's a big focus again on food and wine. We're also going to go to, Puglia is famous for olive oil, so we're going to go to an olive grove and do an olive oil tasting, which will be fun. We're going to do a cooking class, so that will be really fun as well. And we've got lots in Puglia, we've got lots of tours with an actual guide because there's so much to see, so rich in history. So we've got a guide in Polignano a Mare, which is, that amazing town. You've probably seen the photos with the beach from the cliffs. It's just a stunning beach scene. Yeah. So we'll have a guide there. We're going to Lecce for a day, which they call this is one for you, the Florence of the South, it's known as. So maybe you've got to go to Lecce next. So we'll do a guided tour there because it's just got a huge history. There's so much to see. And a guide will just, really bring it to life, I think, for people. And then really excited on that tour, we're going to Matera. Matera isn't in Puglia. It's very close. It's in a region called Basilicata. So it's literally like right next to Puglia. It's where they have the caves. So people used to live in the trulli, or the caves there. The sassi. They used to live in them. And then there's a huge long history. It was, actually quite a terrible history because some of the conditions that they were living in up until the 50s was just like deplorable conditions. Anyway, it was interesting history. It's all been kind of cleared out now, and people have started to regenerate these caves. And so it's amazing to visit now because you've got restaurants inside these caves, you've got shops inside these caves, hotels, luxury hotels inside these caves. So that is amazing for the history and just so unique. Like, you can't think of a more unique place. So we'll have a night there because you need to see it at night because all these caves light up. So that would be really fun. So the Puglia tour, I'm super, super excited about. And then just to end it, we're doing a final 2 tours in Umbria. So we have one in the June after the Puglia tour, and then we've got one in the November. So Umbria is another amazing region. Again, great for, Italy is great for food and wine, I guess we can say by this point. So very excited for those tours.
So are you going to be on all of those? You have quite a busy year then.
Yeah, I know. So
that's amazing.
All goes well. Hopefully it'll be a year full of travel. So I think it'll be from May, when the first one, it's like a good 6 weeks of tours. So quite a lot. And then there's a good break. The next tour is in September. Then we have one in October, and then the last one in November. But May, June will be really busy for me with the tours. Katie's also doing another tour that I'm not leading. It's in Sicily, another amazing region. I love Sicily. And she's doing that with a woman called Karen, who has her own tour company. She's from the States. and she regularly runs tours in Sicily. So they've teamed up to do a version of her tours in Sicily, which that sounds amazing, that tour as well. So yeah, it's all happening.
I think it's amazing that you probably, like when you first went to Italy, did you imagine you'd be doing this?
No, I mean, I wanted to, but not even in, I guess, in my wildest dreams. I sort of, when I moved, like I knew I wanted to do something in food and wine, but I wasn't sure what it was exactly. I knew I didn't want to be a cook in a restaurant or a chef in a restaurant, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with the passion. And I think the first year I was here, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it. And that's why I was doing a work in wineries. Like, do I want to work in a winery? Maybe not. Do I want to work in a restaurant? Maybe not. An agriturismo, etc. And for a while I thought, maybe I want to have my own cooking school down the track. And then I sort of thought, but then how does the travel element play into that? And yeah, I sort of, in different conversations that, you know, I connected with Katie over a year ago. We can't remember if it was 1 or 2 years ago. I feel like the pandemic years have all just blurred into one. So I'm not sure how long we've known each other now, but through different conversations with her, and I was talking about, you know, different things that I might want to do, sort of started talking about these, you know, doing intimate sort of food and wine retreats through Untold Italy. And I just thought, wow, it really combines all of my passions into one, like the food and wine, the travel, the Italian culture. The other thing I think is I'm such a people person, and that's one thing that I've missed, at least, you know, in the last year with the pandemic, is interacting with people. So I think that is something that will be really nice. It's great to interact online, but it's a whole other thing in person, of course. So, you know, that's why I think hosting these tours as well, rather than just design, like I've designed them, but the hosting part I'm just as excited for, because I really want to be able to connect with people in person. I think that will be great.
Yes. Oh, that sounds lovely.
Thank you.
Going for a tour to like explore Italy, and now you're just introducing everyone to Italy. That's like a full circle. Nice. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And it was so interesting to hear your story and how it started and what it's becoming. So
thanks so much.
Yeah. And thank you for being part of our journey as we become Italian a little bit.
Absolutely. I hope you have an amazing trip. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Ciao.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye. Oh gosh, it's getting me excited.
Joanne, we need a road trip to go visit her. Can we just go collect her? I want to collect her.
We should drive then.
If you're up for driving, Joanne. You remember driving in Rome? Our driver in Rome?
No, I know. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, hopefully it's like, you know, like going to San Diego. Once you get on the highway,
yeah,
it's, you know, no problem. It's being in the city. Okay, so that means we'll get our international driver's licenses. So that's easy. Go to AAA. It's like $10 or $20.
Really?
You don't have to take a test. There's nothing except for you just have to prove that you show your license and you insurance, I think.
Oh.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's what I did before we went to Japan. That's what I did, just in case I had to drive.
Okay.
And it's good for a year.
International driver's license. Who knew? I did not. Well, you knew.
Yeah, because probably I'm sure to rent a car there, you know, they'll want that.
I just can't believe that she just decided to go back.
Yeah.
And now she's there giving tours.
And Yeah. And like she said, she knew she wanted to be with food and wine, but she didn't want to be the one cooking it.
Right.
You know, not in the restaurant business, but something else. And now it's like has evolved. Food and wine tours around Italy.
Okay, so here's what I see for myself, Joanne, because I could just listen to her and I'm thinking she's speaking right to my heart. So I love food. Yeah. I love wine. Can I just go test it all out? And what's that job?
Well, I didn't know about that WOOF thing.
Right.
About working, you know?
Right.
That's a great opportunity, like to get some experience.
Is right. That sounds like a fantastic program.
Yeah.
WWOOF.
Oh, is that what it is? WWOOF?
Mm-hmm.
I do want to go to that market though she was mentioning, because we didn't find that last time, but we heard about it.
Yeah.
So
I think we should actually experience her day. She just planned out. she just planned out our itinerary for the day.
I love that. It's kind of, so much is about food too.
All right.
Ciao.
Ciao, Joanne.